when we moved into our house, we bought this mower. It's a 2004 HF1211. It's a Honda ride-on, and we were having starting problems with it. So I've recorded this video to show you what you need to do to check out what's wrong with it and how to fix it. Good morning. So just want to do a quick video about this mower, this Honda HF1211, which won't start. So I was mowing the lawn and I think the cutter deck hit the floor and it nudged it into the lowest setting. So basically the blades were in the soil and the engine ground to a halt. And then when I tried to restart it, it wouldn't start. So let me show you. So just take this top bit off. So you undo that bolt down there, or that nut. Take these handles off, and then lift it up. Well, this needs to be on the lowest setting, and then it should slip out. So, first of all, I thought it might be the starter. So when you put the key in, you put the key in the ignition. I don't think the battery's connected, but basically the little light here, and this light, it will illuminate, and then when you turn the key into the start position, there, it flashes. I've checked this. So this is the starter. This is the solenoid that the mice have been chewing away on. So you've got two cables here. So there's two cables coming out of this one. These are the switches, or these are the poles for the switching of the solenoid, and then this is where the power comes off that goes to the starter. So if you want to test this, what you need to do is stick a continuity meter across these two terminals here. So get your multimeter, and then you need to put this is ground, so that goes back to the battery, this white wire here, and then this one here, that's the live. So get with a battery connected, if you like, connected up at the front, get a wire from the positive terminal and connect it to this. Take this off and connect it onto there, and you should get a beep, or you should get a signal to say that these are working. If that works, then your solenoid is fine. In this case, when you see that flashing light, that means that there's a switch on here that isn't allowing you to start the engine. And there's loads of switches on this mower that will stop you from starting it. So the first one, I'm not sure if you can see it, but I'll take this off, you might be able to see it. So there's a switch here, and this is the lever to engage the cutter deck. So if that switch is not pressed down, it won't start, and when you try to turn the key into the on position, it will beep at you, and that basically means we're not starting because the cutter deck is engaged. There is one here at the back, and that is the sensor that says that the grass collector is on. So this won't, you can't put this cutter deck down unless that switch is on. And the way to test these is a similar way as with a continuity tester. So take these plugs off, stick your continuity tester across, and then just press this switch. It's pretty rusty, but it's just that switch there. So that's another one. There's something to do with the seat here. I'm not really sure how this works, but it seems to be some kind of cable here on the seat. There's a seat switch here. Again, you could test that with a continuity test. I've tested these switches, they're fine. There's a switch in here. I don't know if you can see it. When you can probably just see the plate there going up and down. So this is the brake lever, and yeah, there's a switch underneath where that spring is. But to get to it, I think I'm going to have to you can just see it there. I'm going to have to take this whole front off. To do that, you've got various bolts underneath, so this whole plastic section will lift off. There's also another one which is associated with this lever, and I don't know where it is. I suspect it's underneath here somewhere, with all this mess and all this oil. But essentially, it won't start the engine unless this is in neutral. So the lever needs to be in that position for obvious reasons. You can't start it. So yeah, I need to understand where that switch is. I suspect it's either this one or it's the one to do with the brake, because I had noticed that those two switches were a bit dodgy. When I was trying to start, I'd have to, I don't know, pump the brake pedal down, because if you push the brake pedal down, let's say this is in a reverse position, you push the brake pedal down, it automatically puts it into neutral. But I can't see. That's the voltage regulator. Maybe there's something underneath. Let's have a look. Is there anything under there? It's not immediately apparent, is it? Yeah, not sure. And there's just so many wires and sensors. It's difficult to know where these switches are and what they actually do. So yeah, there's another one. There's another connector there. So there's something. Where does that go? Into this loom and then back down there. It's all connected up. So where does that one go? Is that a switch there? Looks like some kind of switch, doesn't it? Oh my goodness, that is disgusting. It's totally gunged up. Let's take these off. So there's definitely some kind of switch. Jesus, look at the state of those. So that's one of the. What is that? There's some kind of switch here. God, it's disgusting. Maybe that's what that lever does. Yeah, there's some kind of switch here, isn't there? you see that? Looks like some kind of thing here adjusted to that lever. I'll just hold this and then I'll pull the lever and see if this does anything. Yeah, that's the one, isn't it? So there's the switch. So it's got to be right in the middle or it won't start. Well, let's get the tester out and we'll give that a quick go. Okay, so I've got my vintage digimeter, Gunson's digimeter. Right, so I've connected up this to the bottom, and this is in forward position at the moment. Nothing there. So if I press on the brake, this is in the position, if you like, where it's allowed to do it. There's nothing there. If I move it forward, then I get continuity between the bottom and the top. I'm not sure what the middle is. Is that in some kind of neutral? Let's have a look. So I don't really want that. I'm pretty sure I want it to work. Yeah, that's better. So when it's in that position, oh, that's the same. Okay, maybe we'll try that. So if I connect this to the middle one and the top one, giving these a blast out with contact cleaner. Let's try this, see if that works. Okay, so when I turn the key now, I'm not getting a flashing light, and I hooked this up to the top of the solenoid, and when I turn the key, that should, if this is all working and there's no switches stopping it from doing what it's doing, then this should beep a continuity tester across the top, and it doesn't. So there's still another switch that needs to be checked, and I think it's probably this one in here. So it's a bit of a pain, but I'm gonna have to take the whole of this bottom deck off. So there's all these bolts underneath. So I'll do that, and then we'll get to that switch and we'll test that one. So we've got 1, 2, 3 for the lever, 4, I think that's the grass collector box. Probably not essential to starting it. It just tells you when to empty it. 5, 6 for the seat, and then I'm not sure what this one is. 7, don't know what that does. It's a cable. So this pushes on this little spring here, and then this comes all the way down, and it ends up coming down here to this. But I don't really understand what it does. If anybody knows, let me know. But it's an adjustable nut here. But this is the cutter deck. This is the cutter deck engagement, I suppose. So when you lift the lever, I'll just do it. This pin is loosened. That pushes this belt onto here, and then when you release it, it doesn't seem to do very much, does it? That's the adjuster. So yeah, I don't really see what this does. I don't really understand what this does. It's very odd. So yeah, I'll take that. I'll take this front off. I'll do that later. We'll test that switch. And then if that doesn't work, I don't really understand. But we should be able to get, if all the switches are working, we're getting power to the solenoid, and this has got continuity, which basically means it's live. It's creating a circuit, positive, negative. Then, and if it still doesn't start, then there's definitely something wrong with this starter motor. But I saw this guy on YouTube, and on eBay, selling one of these starter motors, and he said I don't need it because it turns out, I thought it was a starter motor, but it turned out to be something else. I suspect he's got a mower like this, and one of his switches was faulty. But they don't have the same kind of diagnostics as a car. You have to basically go back to first principles and check all the switches. There's a fuse here, you can check that fuse. I suppose you could check these connections, but these ones look okay. The battery terminals I've just cleaned. Positive and negative. So yeah, I'll do that. I'll take this off, and then we'll have a look at the switch underneath, probably later. Okay, it's not so difficult to take this off. So you've got 2 bolts on the outside, one about here, one about here. This is on each side. And then you've got one connector there and one connector there. So there's 2 points there and then 2 points here. So you've basically got 4 bolts on each side. You also need to take this front panel off. So this has got a Torx, what's that, T27, one on each side. So that comes off, and then you lift the whole thing up. I'm going to have to take this off as well, if I can get that off. This rubber, otherwise it's not going to come through. Let's have a look, take it off and see what, have a look at it. Okay, so this is what's inside. A lot of crud. So that's the steering rack, the kind of fan shape. And then the switch that we're interested in is this one here. So I'll just clear all this grass and crud out of the way, pull these connectors off, and then we'll test that one as well, see if that's working. Okay, I'm getting continuity from this one as well. So that switch is fine. So I don't really know what to do next. You've got all of these switches seem to be working. Unless there's something I've missed. This one here, we can test this one as well. I've already tested this one, but it should be fine. Yeah, that one's fine. So maybe it is the starter. I just don't see why we can't fire it up. Should be able to. There's no flashing. It's very odd. This is some loose connection. We've chewed through a cable or something, but I just can't see why that would be the case. I can't see any obvious issues. Yeah. More investigation required. So this is interesting. When I put the meter on and try to start the key, I'm actually getting continuity now. When I have proper earth. Yeah, so with an extra ground connected, I'm getting continuity. You hear the solenoid. Starter motor might be knackered. Okay, so I managed to get hold of a new starter. So I bought this from eBay. I didn't realise it was for this precise mower, but there we are. This is about £100. These are quite difficult to get hold of at the moment, according to one of the guys who works in the trade. And HC Cargo, whoever they are, got their hands on a load, and this is one of them. So that should be a direct swap. So yeah, the solenoid bolts on just there. So yeah, I'm going to take the old one off, and to do that I think you need to take the flywheel off the top of the engine, and then it should be fairly easy to do. Let's just take this nut, undo this nut. That's in the washer. Put it back there so we don't lose it. Just put that back. Now, I'm hoping looks like a direct swap, doesn't it? I'm hoping that the earthing fault is due to this, because this earths through, presumably through this device, then I'm hoping that's the point. If not, there may be nothing wrong with this, and it may just be that this needs to be, I'm sure there is something wrong with this, because we had continuity here, but this wasn't working. So anyway, we'll take this off. Not sure what we need to do here. Take these off probably. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then how do we get this flywheel off? It's not immediately apparent. Well, that needs to come off. Maybe I'll just take these screws off and see what's underneath. I suspect there's a big bolt in the middle to hold that on. I'll just check back in a sec. Okay, so these 3 screws removed reveals this large nut. So not sure how we're going to break that loose considering this is moving. I guess we'll have to try and lock this flywheel in place whilst we get something on that. Okay, well, this is a real pig to remove. I managed to snap this off, which is it's obviously quite soft aluminium. So it's a 23mm on there, and then I just got this old spade and I stuck it. Obviously this is not necessarily going to work for you if you haven't got this bit missing, but I just wedged that in there between this gear and the flywheel tooth. Anyway, managed to break that loose, so that's come off. It's just a normal thread, it's not reverse threaded or anything. So let's have a look under here. Probably gonna have to move these, aren't I? Have to move these out of the way. Right, I'll do that as well. Okay, so having got this off, I've just seen a video on YouTube where you have to use some kind of bearing puller to pull this off. I don't think I have one of those, so I'm just wondering if there's another easier way to get this off. The bolts which hold this on, I don't know if you can see that, there's one in there and there's one in there. Now if I can get something in there and loosen this off, I don't know if I'd be able to get the bolts up, probably not, but I'm just going to try something different. I suspect the answer is no. I'm going to have to come up with some means to get this flywheel off, which is a real pain in the backside, but we'll see what happens anyway. The joy of the internet. So, somebody said, put the nut back on, get yourself a pry bar, stick it underneath there, and give this nut a big whack. He said it's on a taper and it comes off pretty easily. And sure enough, it's popped off. So unscrew that again if I haven't damaged this thread, and then we should be able to pop it off. Result. So you have to take this little sensor off. I think that works on this here. Maybe it's a speed sensor. And then inside the flywheel, so you've got some magnets, a lot of crud in here to clean this out. And likewise here, a lot of crud, which will do the cleaning. But these are the bolts we're after. They look like 13s. So we'll disconnect the battery, disconnect these leads, and then we'll take this off and we'll put the new one on. Swap the solenoid over and then put it back on, see if we have any luck. Okay, here you can very clearly see the taper on the flywheel shaft. I'll just put these bolts back in. I'm going to clean this up. I don't really want any crap going in these holes. So yeah, here's the starter. So I'm going to unscrew the solenoid, well, disconnect the battery, unscrew the solenoid, and then disconnect these terminals, and then switch the solenoid over and connect them back up again. Yeah, when you're dealing with this solenoid, best to disconnect the negative battery, otherwise things will start sparking. So to take off this is the alternator, 31200 ZF5AL310. So you've got two 8mm bolts which hold the solenoid on. Then you've got a connector down the bottom. I think that's it pretty much. We'll have a look inside this. See see what it's like on the inside. So yeah, I'll do that. Swap it over with the new one, and then we'll put it back on. And here's the old and the new side by side. So you can see there, apart from the bit that snapped off there, they're the same. They're the same shape, same design. It's probably the same manufacturer. Well, this is slightly higher at the bottom. Anyway, we'll see. Okay, put this on, put the earth connector on. So yeah, I've got that back on there, got the solenoid on. So I'll put this on the top. I think I'll probably try and start the engine before I put the flywheel on, if that's possible. I don't know, might be, just to see if it's actually working. But yeah, we'll see. I'll put it back on the, need to clean that rubbish out, clean that crud out, and then we'll put it back on. Okay, this is the moment of truth. The connector's back on, the earth strap's on, the earth's on the motor, the flywheel's back on, the sensor's back on. I've just done the nut up, hasn't got any of the cooling fins or anything on. So I'm going to try to start the motor. Let's see whether this works. All right, we have a motor, a starter motor, so that is good. That is excellent news. I shall put the rest back together. So yeah, it was a faulty starter motor. So that is excellent news. Got that fixed. So I'll put this back together and then we'll fire it up. So when you're putting this flywheel back on, so because this is pressed on, what you need to do, you'll need to just, what I did was actually use this bracket. This is one of the brackets from the top. So I just wedged this in here and then just gradually wind this down with a breaker bar until you'll feel it. It's quite easy to go, and then suddenly it will seat. I mean, don't go crazy with it, but you just basically want this to be seated. If it's not seated, and that should be fairly flush with the top of the nut. You know, when it started, it was quite a few mil down. The problem is you're going to have, this isn't going to clear. This isn't going to clear this metal. So yeah, well, so not going to clear it. When you put this plate on, and you're trying to fit this plate in, it's going to struggle to fit underneath. So yeah, just be aware. You don't want that rubbing. So yeah, just bear that in mind when you're putting it back. So another thing, great learnings. When you put this back on, you've got 3 nipples here that need to go back in the requisite hole. So that was my problem, is that these weren't sitting in the right place, and as a result it was higher than it should have been on here. So just make sure that when it's sitting down, it's actually flat on there. Okay, top's back on. Don't forget there's a couple of little rings that go on these bits that space out the metal frame. Otherwise you'll be putting pressure on this plastic and it will probably crack. So you've got 2 nuts, 2 screws and a bolt. Right, let's fire it up. Get this. Not going to do any cutting, I just want to fire the engine up. Let's get that through there. There we go. Sit on the seat. It's the moment of truth. Choke on. flashing light. Hey, and we have liftoff. There you go. Job's a good one.